Hello, everyone. So what I have here is an old Yale in town that's very hard to see in there. Lever lock type of padlock that I've cleaned up as much as I can. It used to have like a copper wash finish on it. This is one that's so old, the shackle's not springy, and it was in such a bad condition that what I'm going to do is take it apart. I'm going to grind off these rivet heads on the back side so that from the front it'll still look like a padlock, because that's basically all it is. I can get another one off of eBay, so there, these are not like super rare and stuff, so but I do want to see how this mechanism works. And even in the Yale catalogs, they don't show a blow away or a cutaway or anything like that of these. So that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, so those of you that don't like to see destructive entry or whatever, this is not the video for you. But if you're curious as to how this mechanism works, I'm going to take it apart. What I'm using is my Dremel with one of these little stone type guys on it. And I'm just taking the backside, like I said, and on the body rivets. This is a shackle hinge one. I'm still going to have to remove that. Yeah, all the ones, the pins that go all the way through, basically. All these heads that are sticking up, I'm going to have to grind down. So I like to use this because it's tapered like that. And yeah, we'll see how that works. I'm not going to include the drilling because it'd just be a bunch of noise. And what I'm doing is I'm grinding these nubs down flush. Now, if you're real precise, you won't get it like this where it jumps around quite as much. But the whole thing is these are going to be ground down so that the seam can be split. Once the seam is split, then we can take it apart. But I'm going to have to do that on all of those. But anyways, yeah, it's a long, drawn-out process. The reason why I do it like this, you'll see some people, they'll take a CNC milling machine and they'll mill apart a padlock, like an old padlock or something like this. I won't mention any names, but you probably watched the well-known YouTube lock sporter that does that. If you take a little bit of time, you can take it apart without destroying the looks of it. Now, CNC machining is good if you want to cut apart this and do a cutaway where you have the actual key, but I really just want to get inside and look at the mechanism and show it off. So there you go. That's my approach on it. That's why I do it my way. Of course, once you own a padlock, you can do whatever you want with it. I try to preserve it as much as possible if I can. It just occurred to me after doing this, I ground them all flush and everything, but you could probably center punch these guys and drill them and do less damage. But like I said, my biggest concern is not damage, but discovery. I want to discover what's inside these. Alright, so I made sure I ground them all flat. None of the rivet heads are sticking up. And then the next step is going to be to take a screwdriver and to pry this apart. So we'll get to that. I wanted to do one side, but the seam is so tight, I had to do both sides. I had to drill both sides, basically. Oh, this guy doesn't want to focus. Focus over there. There you go. Yeah, not the best looking drill job or grind job, but oh well. This thing will capture, but the tolerances are so tight I couldn't just jab a screwdriver in there. I had to go through the shackle, and now it's starting to pry up a little bit. I'm going to try to do the same thing over here. I don't have much room though. I'm going to have to work from this side, it looks like. I'm just getting this screwdriver in the seam here and just walking it along and twisting. This is where it came in handy that that I ground both heads off, because it's prying apart a lot easier than if I was trying to fight one side or the other. Yeah, that's the disadvantage of getting an old antique padlock without a key is all the internals may be rusted. Like this brass piece right here wouldn't even spin when I first got it. I had to soak this whole thing in vinegar for 3 days just to get it, all the junk and stuff off of it. There we go. We got a nice pop. We're getting somewhere. This way you'll see it when I see it. You'll see what's inside of it when I see what's inside it. There we go. Got another pop. We only got one side over here. Yes, there we go. Right. And the unveiling. Yes, no wonder. No wonder I was having an issue with this. Let's look at the mechanism. I'll try to clean it up afterwards. But that's what we've got. See, I could see this lever over here. But everything I was pushing on it, yeah, you look at it and you say, all right, this is how much you've got to actuate with. So you really only need a flag that comes out that far. And this looks like the spring to kick the shackle up. And here's your one. Well, there's 2 levers right there. But it looks like only one. Sorry, I'm trying to hold this with my one hand while trying to manipulate this guy with the other. Oh yeah, there are 2 levers. You see how that one has got to line up with that one. And because this thing is so worn, what would cause it to fall in that gate? Just spring pressure, tension? Maybe there was a spring that went to here. I'll have to look at this further and try to figure it out. But there's your lever mechanism, and when this notch falls in, it'll release this. But right now, like I said, everything is so frozen. Even if I would have picked this to the right position, it wouldn't have worked. I mean, it wouldn't have opened because this is frozen in place. So there you go. That's the inside of one of these old Yale in town. It's got a 30 on the shackle. I'll get the model number and the original price of them and everything. But there you go. That's what's happens. That's why, like I said, the outside of the lock a lot of times will give you kind of an indication of what's going on inside. And you can't see much inside, but all this rust, all it takes is for one of these lever stacks to rust weld to the other one. And when you move, they won't line up. I mean, you'll move, but they're stuck together. I mean, so the levers have to be like independent. Anyways, pretty simple design, pretty neat. Fairly secure. If you tried to shim up here, you wouldn't get very far. You just run into that. You can't get to this latch right here. If you go this way, it's not going to do you any good. So, yeah, it's just a little simple design, but pretty neat. So, thank you for watching, and happy picking, everyone. Let's zoom in on this a little bit more. Super zoom. You can see all the rust, the debris. Focus, please, focus. Yes, and your little lever mechanism. Little levers. This guy had to have had a something that would cause him to fall down, though. You see? I don't know if it's... Oh, spring pressure pushing on this? I don't know. I have to figure this guy out. Alright, so here's what you have. You have this little post right here, which sits in the middle. This spring sits on the top and is the shackle return spring. The shackle pressure spring. This little piece fell out, but it's 2 levers. I mean, that's because I drilled the bottom of it off. But it's got to be lined up just right for, let's see if I can get this good. If he's not zoomed in. It's got to be sitting here just right, and when it lines up, this piece right here falls in. I cannot figure out what causes it to fall in other than gravity. I see no spring tension put on it. See, when it's down like that, but that's the place that it can fall in. There's no springs on this. There's no internal spring in here that fell loose that applies pressure to this pack. My only thought is that maybe the tension that is supplied to the shackle here, when you've got this spring piece in and it's pushing back like that, that imparts a leverage force on this piece right here that would cause it to fall in if this thing was loose. Right now it's better than it was, but I needed 2 hands to free this up. So yeah, once again, if you get an older lock that doesn't have a key, then there's a possibility that the thing doesn't work. And the reason why it doesn't work is because it was left in bad conditions like this, and these things rust welded together. And if you're trying to pick it apart, even if you lined up just these 2 gates right here, it would never fall down because of the rust and everything. Like I said, this thing was just like sitting there. I had to bang it apart. Very tight tolerances on this thing right here, because when this piece is down, locked in there, there's no room for the shackle to be any other way. It's like a puzzle piece. And then when it comes up, when it clears it and is allowed to come down on this pivoting mechanism here, I'm trying to get it. Anyways, when it's allowed to come down and pivot down, that not only clears the way right over here for the shackle to come up, but there's a cutout here where it'll come over that way. I'm trying to get it to work right now. That post popped up. If I would have just left that post in, I wouldn't have had any problem with this, but there you go. Yeah, that's how that thing works. It swings up. This shackle is allowed to clear right over there, and this clears. And like I said, you can't really just shim this guy. And it's so well made, that seam was so tight, I couldn't fit a screwdriver in there. Like I said, I had to start with an already open part and start wedging it out. So very well made. I guess you would consider this 4 lever, because there's 2 here. I mean, there's 2 levers here, but there's 2 on the shackle. So I don't know if you call that a 2 lever or 4 lever. But thanks for watching, and happy picking, everyone.